I am going to share my screen. Just bear with me one moment. And I'm going to proceed. Heidi, let me know if you don't see my screen. I'm assuming everybody can.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so hi everybody. Again, my name is Delilah Wilson. I am with Cengage Learning, and today we're going to be talking about how you set up your Cengage Materials. And many of you have heard us refer to that process as the pairing process. The audience for today's training are instructors using a IvyLearn Commons course that has been pre-populated with Cengage content. So if you've imported a course from the Commons and it has Cengage content in there, we're going to be making sure you activate that Cengage content so that your students are able to successfully get into that content. So again, we'll be talking about the initial Mindtap or SAM pairing setup. We'll be talking about some common how-tos. Want to make sure you all know how to reach the support line. I'm going to be showing you how you can add a support link to your course for your students. But if you want a instructor line for yourself, so this telephone number that I have up is specifically for instructors. If you want to take this number down, 866-267-4986. That support line is for instructor help, and they specialize in instructors who are using Cengage products integrated with Canvas. So again, I'll be telling you how you can get help for your students, but if you want to take down this number, that would be great. Also, I'll make sure everyone is clear on the student registration process. And as I mentioned, I'm going to show you guys how to add a technical support link for Cengage to your course if it does not already exist. So with that being said, I'm just going to jump right into IvyLearn. And I have a course that currently does not contain any content. And I'm going to show you guys how you can import your course from the Commons if you don't already know how to do that. And then we will take that Cengage content that's in that imported course and we will make sure it's active. So we'll go through the pairing process. So typically when you log into your course and you're on your course homepage, when you first enter your course, if you have not copied or imported any content into your course, it's going to be a blank course. Or if you're department chair, just depending upon what the procedure is at your individual campus, if nobody has added content to your course, you'll start with a blank course. If you have been instructed to go out to the IvyLearn Commons from this home area, you would click on the Import from Commons button. This is going to take you out to the following screen where you can search for any courses that have been loaded to this Commons area. So for example, if you were teaching a History 111 course that currently uses Cengage content, you would be able to come in and just maybe type in HIST 111. And here I can see there's a History 111 statewide spring course. So if I wanted to import this course into my account, I would just click on the title of the course, and then I would see a list of my fall or spring sections, and you just want to locate the course that you want to import this content into. So sorry for the conflicting names, but I'm just going to import it into this shell right here and click on Import Course. All right, so next I will receive a message indicating that I've successfully started the import, and then sometimes it'll take a moment or two in order for me to see those changes. I'm going to go into the course that I imported that content into, and hopefully it's updating now. I want to make sure I'm in the correct course.
Delilah, this
All
is
right.
Heidi. We did have a report of the imports being slow to work today, so I don't know if you have an already imported version you could walk through.
Let me see. I do have something that's already imported, but I think I've already linked it. But let me go ahead and see if I get. Yeah, I think I've already linked this content. All right, well, I've already linked this content, but no worries. Let me see if I have a different course where content isn't linked. All right, so unfortunately, let me try one more. It's not looking like I have any courses that aren't currently linked. But I will improvise. So here we go. Let's do this.
Delilah, I'm also trying a manual upload in that demo course. I'm waiting to see if it's going to take, but I don't have high hopes.
Okay, well, no worries. I'll kind of improvise. You guys may need to use your imagination a little bit, but so when you import a course into your shell from the comments area, you just basically want to locate a Cengage link. So if it's a course that we work with the instructional design team to help build, it's likely going to have an announcement in the course that starts you off with some instructions. And the instructions typically tell you, here's a video that shows you how to go through the pairing process. And just depending upon the course that you're teaching, it will link you out to a Google spreadsheet that has a course key that you need to use in order to activate your Cengage content. So earlier today, I was trying to import the History 111 course. So let's say that was the course you're teaching. You would grab the course key for that course, and then you would return to IvyLearn, and you would go out to your modules area, and you basically are looking for a link to any Mindtap activity. Most of the courses in the instructor resources, it's going to have a link that says Mindtap homepage. So you're looking for the link to the Mindtap homepage. If you do not see a link to the Mindtap homepage, which A majority of the courses do, but I have heard some reports that there may not be a link to the homepage in some of the courses. You can easily locate, let's say, the ebook. This is typically a Cengage activity. So you want to locate, click to launch any Cengage material to get the pairing process started. Once you launch a Cengage activity, it's going to take you to a course setup page, which I'm going to kind of go a back route to get to a course setup page for a different title since the import isn't working. So you would click on a Cengage activity link, and when you do that, it would take you out to, let's see, it would take you out to the following page here. So let's just imagine I imported the course, I clicked on a Cengage link. The first time I do that, in order for me to pair my content, it's going to take me to this link here, basically letting me know that I need to create my Mindtap content. Since these courses were pre-built for you, you want to make sure you're choosing the option to copy from a colleague to make sure you are copying the exact same content that has been built for that Commons course. You don't want to say create new because that will be problematic and may cause some issues with some of the links in your course not to work. You always want to make sure you're choosing the option to copy from another instructor. So when you go to copy from another instructor, that's where you'll be prompted to enter a course key. And this course key is specific to the course that you're teaching. So if you're teaching English 111 or History 111 or History 112, you want to make sure on this document here that I got to from the announcements that you're copying the appropriate course key. When you copy the appropriate course key, you're going to paste it in this field here and click verify. You'll know that you have the course key for the appropriate title because the following fields will now appear. And then from here, you just want to name your course. So let's say I was setting up my English 111 course or my History 111 course. I'm just going to come in and give my course a name. So I know I'm talking about different courses right now, but I'm having to improvise. So let's say I was setting up my English 111 course for spring 2018, and maybe this was my section 00. So the more specific you are in your course name, the better, because if you try to use a course name that you've used in the past, it's not going to allow for you to go through this pairing process. It's going to keep kind of taking you through a loop. So make sure you use a unique course name, and you can always do that maybe by putting spring 2018 or using your specific section information. Next, you want to go in and put your actual course start date because students, when they access this Cengage content, they are going to need an access code. So if students haven't purchased their access code or they haven't purchased their textbook, which typically comes bundled with an access code, we do offer a trial or grace period where the students can get into their Cengage materials and the ebook during that grace period. And the grace period is going to be based upon your course start date. So some of you may be tempted to start your course earlier. Don't do that because you'll lose a week off of that trial period. Start it on your actual course start date. And even though I'm saying my course starts on the 15th, if students go in on the 12th or the 13th and they try to register, it's going to let them in. All right?
Can you, I'm sorry, can you reiterate where instructors will get that course key? We have a question in the chat box about where they're getting the course key.
Sure. So in the comments, when you initially import your course, typically in the announcements, there is an announcement that says instructors read and delete. So I've imported a couple of courses into this account. That's why you see duplicate announcements. But let's say I imported the History 111. So it tells me click here to locate the course key. When I click on this hyperlink here, it takes me out to this document here. If you have a course and it doesn't have an announcement in there, you're not sure if you should be using a course key. If you're not sure which course key you should be using because you don't have an announcement in your course, especially if you're teaching at a specific campus where maybe the department chair set up a course, you can always reach out to the person who developed that Commons course, whether that be the department chair, and obtain that course key.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so going back, I put in the course key. So I clicked on a Cengage link from within the modules, whether that was a Cengage homepage or Cengage ebook or Cengage activity. When you do that, it's going to prompt for you to create a course. You're going to choose copy from another instructor. You're going to enter in the appropriate course key, and then it's going to ask you to name your course, enter a start date, enter an end date. So if my course ends on May the 12th, I'll put that. And then I'm going to go ahead and enter my time zone, and then I will click continue. So it's going to think for a moment, and it's going to link me to my Cengage content. And then that's just a one-time process that you'll do at the beginning of the semester just to activate your Cengage content. Once you go through that process, moving forward, anytime you click on any of those links to your Cengage content, it's automatically going to take you into that content. So now that I've paired my Cengage content, if I click on that link to Mindtap, instead of prompting for me to create something, it just takes me directly into the resource that I clicked on. Okay, so if you're teaching 3 sections, you want to do that for each section. You have to do that in each individual section. And if you do not go through the pairing process, what will happen is those links will not be functioning. And if your students go in to attempt to click on those links, it will tell them your instructor hasn't set up your Cengage Mindtap content. So you want to make sure you go through the pairing process in order for any Cengage Mindtap or SAM links to work within your course. All right, so sorry that was a little bumpy with the Commons import, not importing immediately, but that was the pairing process. Now I want to talk to you about how your students get registered and access your Cengage content. Because your Cengage content is integrated into Canvas, there's no need to provide your students with any special registration URLs or send them to any special websites. They're going to always access their Cengage content directly through IvyLearn. So if we were to go out to the student view, I'm going to show you what the student registration process looks like. All right, so when students log into your course, as long as it's published and all of the modules that you want them to see are published, they'll be able to go out to their modules area or assignments area, however your course is set up, and they can access their Cengage content. So let's say, for example, I have a student who is attempting to open this ebook link, which is a link to the Cengage Mindtap ebook. When they click on this link, let's see. Well, because I'm going through a course that was already linked, I've done a lot of this stuff, so let me try to reset my student view, and we'll go through this process again. All right, so let me take a look, and hopefully that did the trick. All right, so the first time a student attempts to access their Cengage content, they're going to be prompted to create a Cengage account. This is a one-time process. Once they create their account, it's going to remember their login credentials, and they won't have to enter it again moving forward. The great thing about them creating this Cengage account is there is a Mindtap mobile app. So if they download that mobile app and log in with their Cengage account after registering via IvyLearn, they will be able to access the ebook in the mobile app. They can download that ebook for offline viewing, even if they're not connected to the internet. And there are different study tools and flashcards in the mobile app. Also, as an FYI to you, if you're using a Cengage product and maybe you're teaching a face-to-face class, we do in that Mindtap mobile app offer polling that you can do. And there's also an attendance taking mechanism in that Mindtap mobile app that's new this January. So if you need more information on that, feel free to reach out to your local sales representative to find out more about the, at no additional cost, the attendance taking and the polling that's available within that Mindtap mobile app. All right, so let's say the student is going to come in and they're going to enter in their email address, and then they're just going to create a password for themselves, and they're going to agree to this service agreement, and then they click create account. And depending upon the course that you're teaching, the students, they will be prompted to enter in an access code. This particular demo account, I'm not being prompted to enter in an access code, but they would be prompted to enter in an access code to demonstrate that they have purchased access to the materials. If they don't have an access code, then they will have the option to continue under the free trial period. Any questions so far in the chat? I'm going to close down a bunch of these windows. All right, so that's how your students get registered. Let's talk about some common things that you may do throughout the semester. So just depending upon the course that you're teaching, there may be Cengage activities that are part of the course just as a supplemental resource. Maybe there's just like ebook readings or study tools. But there may also be graded content in your course. So for example, I think for, if I take a look at this course right here, these particular activities, since I'm just familiar with the course, I know that these are Cengage activities, and you can see that they're worth 10 points. So let's talk about how when students submit activities, how those grades come into the grade book and how you would view that content as an instructor. So since I reset this course, I probably reset the students' data I had in here, but I'm going to go back to the student view. And let's open one of those graded activities and show you what happens when students submit one of those activities. So here is an assignment right here that's worth 10 points. When students click on that activity and they launch it, one of the things that you'll see immediately when I click on the Cengage content is that it opens in a new window. So you want to make sure that you and your students are allowing pop-ups. Otherwise, when you click that link to launch it, it'll just look like it's not doing anything. But what's happening is a window is trying to launch. So that's important for you and your students to know, to make sure you are allowing for pop-ups. Here's a screen that I didn't see when I was in that history textbook that I was talking about, which is that payment screen. So when students launch those activities, they'll have the option to redeem an access code that comes bundled with their textbook. If they don't have an access code, you can see you have this option to say, I'll pay later and continue to my course.
And Delilah, can you remind us how long that complimentary access is for? Is it 2 weeks?
Sure. So it's up to 14 days, and it really depends on how long your course is teaching. How long your course is. So a majority of you, it's going to be 14-day access. But if you're teaching like a shorter, like an 8-week course, typically the formula is for every week that you teach that course, the students will have 1-day trial access. So if you're teaching an 8-week course, that's 8 days of access. If you're teaching a 16-week course, since it's up to 14 days, the students will have 14 days of trial access. Okay?
Yes, and we also have another question in the chat box. After importing the content, how is a graded activity deleted before it is accessed by students? I guess that would mean that maybe the instructor didn't want to use that particular activity.
Sure. So let me go in and show this experience with this graded activity, and then I'll show you how you can, from IvyLearn, remove an activity that's graded. And I'll also show if there's assignments within Mindtap that maybe you want to use, but you don't want to use them for a grade, how you can import them into IvyLearn, but not import them for a grade. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so as a student, I clicked on that assignment from IvyLearn called Brief Hypothetical, and now it's taking me directly into that activity. So I'm just gonna submit a couple of questions here. Doesn't matter if I get it right or wrong. I just wanna show you guys when a student works on an assignment, I'm hoping I can get maybe 1 or 2 right. So there's some type of grade. So a student goes into an activity and they submit that activity. I got everything wrong, so I'll get a 0. But that grade for that assignment, not only will it appear for the students directly within Mindtap, but within IvyLearn, typically takes several minutes, but that grade is automatically going to flow into the grade book for the students for that particular activity. So since I just submitted, it's not showing, but as the instructor, you'll be able to see that student's grade in the IvyLearn gradebook, and you'll also be able to see that student's grade if you were to go out to the Mindtap gradebook. So to address the question of how do you remove a graded assignment from IvyLearn, I'll show you how to do that, and I'll also show you how you can maybe import content from Mindtap that maybe you saw and you wanted to bring that directly into Canvas. I'll show you how you can import that into Canvas, whether that be for a grade or not. All right, so if we leave this student view, and I'm gonna go to my modules. And right now I'm logged in as the instructor, and we saw for that business 201 course, there were these assignments here called brief hypotheticals. Let's say I did not want to use this analyzed case. I wanted to delete it from IvyLearn. I did not want it to be worth the 1 point that's in here. The best place to delete it from would not be the modules area, because it's still going to show up in your assignments area. What you want to do is come out to the assignments right here, and you want to locate that assignment, and you want to delete it from the assignments. When you delete it from the assignments area, that's going to also delete it from the modules area or any other place that assignment appears. So let's say I wanted to delete this particular assignment here. I'm going to hover my mouse over this cog. I'll click on the cog, and there's this delete button right here. And when I delete it from the assignments, it deletes it from the modules. It also deletes it from the IvyLearn gradebook, and it's going to get rid of any reference to the activity within Canvas. All right. So let's say you want to do the opposite. Let's say there was an activity within Mindtap that you wanted to import into Canvas, and maybe you want to import it for a grade, maybe you don't. It just depends. So I'm going to go out to Mindtap. The great thing about going out to Mindtap, you can click on any Mindtap activity, whether it be the ebook or a specific assignment. Once you click on that link, it takes you out to Mindtap. Yes, it took me out to this specific item, but if I just close out of this specific item here, Mindtap is always running in the background. All right, so there may be some assignments in here that I find useful, and I want to bring them into IvyLearn and put them in a specific module. So let's say in chapter 2, there is a Mindtap assignment in here. Let's say I wanted to use this video exercise activity, or even this brief hypothetical 2.1. First of all, you want to make sure that any content you want to bring over into Canvas is not marked as hidden from students within Mindtap. So the first thing I want to do is hover my mouse over this activity, and I just want to click on this eye icon to show it, and now it's visible right here. So I have 2 different activities here. One says practice, one says it counts towards a grade. If I want to bring any assignment into Canvas or IvyLearn, and I want it to count towards a grade, it can't be marked as practice. It has to say count towards a grade. Typically, if you hover your mouse over any Mindtap activity, it's going to have this pencil edit icon. And if you go in to edit that assignment, you can always edit the assignment options and change an assignment from graded to practice or practice to graded. Just depends on the setting that you want on that assignment. So this particular assignment is set to practice. I actually want it to be graded, so I'm going to uncheck this practice box and click on publish. And I'm just going to save my settings. So now here you can see I have 2 assignments that count towards a grade, but they're not in IvyLearn. I want to put these assignments within IvyLearn. If I go back to IvyLearn, one of the menu items that you'll notice is this Cengage menu item. So this is only visible to you as the instructor, but not to your students. If you don't see the Cengage menu item, you can always come out to your course settings at the bottom here. And under this navigation area, you may have to just drag that Cengage option from this hidden area up into this visible area. But it was already visible to me, so I was just showing you this if it was not visible to you. I'm going to click on this Cengage tool. And when I click on the Cengage tool, since I have already gone through that pairing process, I can click on this linked products, and it's going to show me the textbooks that I previously paired with. So you would only see one book, but I've linked to quite a few books in this account. But let's say this was your textbook, just sticking with that Business 201 course that I was just in. So I would click on the title of my textbook, and it's going to show me a list of all of the MindTap assignments that are currently visible or not marked as hidden. So if I were to compare these assignments here to this list of assignments in IvyLearn, they would be identical. So if I scroll down to that chapter 2, here is that brief hypothetical 2.1. Now, if I want to add this activity to my grade, if I want to add it to the course, I can select this add to course, and you can see that it also selects this add to gradebook. So this ensures that I'm about to import a link to this particular activity within IvyLearn, and it's also going to make sure a gradebook column is set up. If I don't want a gradebook column set up, then I can uncheck this add to gradebook. So it just really depends on how you want to set it up. You just want to set it up where students have access to it, but you don't want any grades to come into IvyLearn. After you make that decision, so I'm just going to bring it in, but I'm not going to import a gradebook column. So I will select my item here. You can select more than one thing. So you'll see that some of these don't have this ability to add to gradebook. That's because these are flashcards and they're not graded items. So it's only going to have this add to gradebook for any graded items. After you make your selections, you confirm your selections. It just takes you to this confirmation page. You say save, and takes a second, but then it's going to import those links directly into IvyLearn. So now, if I go out to my modules area, I should see that here's that link that I just imported in. By default, it is not published. By default, it's not published. So if you want to make sure your students can see this, you want to publish it, and then you can just drag and drop it to any module of your choice. So I'm going to leave it in the module it is. I just wanted to show you guys how you can import content. Some of you may want to know how, for any MindTap activities that do count towards a grade, how you can set due dates on them. Now, while you can set dates within Canvas, you actually want to set the dates for those activities in MindTap, because ultimately they are MindTap assignments, and MindTap is going to control whether or not MindTap is going to be the platform that enforces those due dates. But before I proceed to talking about how do you set due dates, are there any questions on what we covered so far? Deleting content, importing new additional content, how students take activities and register. Do we have any questions? Feel free to enter those into the chat before I proceed.
Delilah, I had a follow-up question. This is Heidi, and it's not in the chat question box, but in the instance where, for example, the instructor didn't want to use one of the integrated Mindtap things, and you walked them through how to delete that in IvyLearn, is there anything then on the Mindtap side they would need to do? Would they hide it from students, or something to that nature?
Yeah, if you want to just make sure it's consistent in both IvyLearn and MindTap, you would delete it from IvyLearn like I showed you. But as you can see, once a user is out within MindTap, they can explore like the different chapters or areas. So if you want to avoid any confusion, if you deleted something from IvyLearn and you want to make sure students aren't taking those assignments directly in MindTap, you can just go out to this MindTap area, hover your mouse over it, and hide that activity from MindTap as well.
Okay, thank you.
So you're welcome. Even if you didn't hide it, the score is not going to import into IvyLearn, but just so that students don't see anything in Mindtap that says count towards a grade that may cause confusion, it is the best practice to go ahead and hide it. All right. So next, if you do have some graded assignments within Mindtap, so for example, in chapter 2, I just imported, well, I don't think I imported it in for a grade, but let's say this activity here, I did import it for a grade and I want the students to complete it by a certain date. You can set dates in Mindtap. The quickest way to set dates for multiple activities within Mindtap would be to click on this icon here that says it's the date manager view. And then when you go out to this date manager, you're going to see all of your different activities just in this scrolling list. So from here, you can select more than one activity. So let's say I was just focusing on these chapter 1 activities. You can select more than one activity. An available date is optional. The available date is mostly if you want to prevent your students from working ahead. If you don't mind your students working ahead, you can leave the date blank. But if you want to restrict them to a certain date, like let's say they can't start on this assignment until the 16th, I would go in and select that available date and time and click done. And then I can select a due date. So let's say it was due on the 20th. I would select the 20th and click done, and then I just apply my changes. So now those dates would be enforced in Mindtap. If a student were to try to click on this activity from within IvyLearn, it will tell them that the assignment hasn't started. Now, some of you may want to know, well, how will the students see the dates within IvyLearn? Well, it's a two-step process. If you want the students to see the dates within IvyLearn, then you have to edit the assignment within IvyLearn. So on your assignments tab, for any Mindtap assignments that you have in here, if you do want to make sure that the date is also displaying within IvyLearn for your students, maybe because you have your students use the IvyLearn calendar, you can edit an assignment from IvyLearn, and you see it has this due date here, where you can go in and set a due date so that students would see that date easily from within IvyLearn. So now the due date appears here. I believe you can also like drag and drop items into the calendar, but that's more of an IvyLearn feature that I'm not too familiar with. But if within your calendar, you should be able to drag and drop assignments into dates as well in order to have dates appear within IvyLearn. All right, so any additional questions before we move on to the final piece, which is how to get support or how to access additional how-to videos? Because today we have a broad audience and you guys may be teaching different courses. So your textbook may have specific assignments that are unique to you. So I do want to point out where you can locate additional Mindtap training resources that are discipline specific. And also I'll be sure to leave you with my contact information just in case you have specific questions that were not addressed on today's webinar.
And Delilah, it does look like there's a few questions in the chat box that might need some insistence, or in the question box. I apologize.
All right, so let's take a look.
One asks, can you simply unpublish the deleted item in Canvas?
Can you, so I'm assuming that question is saying, Well, if it's a deleted item, I don't see how you would unpublish it. But if the question is, if you don't want to use a certain activity, can you simply unpublish it within Canvas? The answer to that is yes. When you unpublish an activity within Canvas, then students, they won't be able to access it. And also any unpublished activities, even if they were marked as a graded item, would be unpublished from the gradebook as well. Unpublished assignments do not show up in the gradebook. All right, let me look at the next question. For those of us who teach the same course every semester, to pair, just import a single content item from the previous semester. All right, this is a bit wordy, so let me kind of read through it. I'm sorry. So the question is, if you taught the course in the past, you basically want to know how you can import that content and pair it. So I will explain the process, but I will also take you to a page that shows you a video on what the process is. But basically, yes, I wouldn't import a single item. I would assume that if you taught a course in the past, you're importing the entire course into a new semester. And then once you import that entire course, you're going to see any assignment links or any items or pages that you have from that previous course will show up in the new course. And to pair, you just click on any Cengage item in that new course, and it's going to take you through that course creation page that we saw earlier. Since you are not using a Commons course, but instead you copied from one of your own existing courses, you would, instead of choosing the option to copy from a colleague, you would say copy one of my existing Mindtap courses. Since we were already going to talk about support, I will take you out to a page that I encourage you all to bookmark. So if you go to cengage.com/training, and this takes you out to the different Cengage platforms. So if you're using Mindtap, some of you may be using IvyLearn, SAM. It just really depends on which Cengage product you're using. In this boat course, when I clicked on the links right here, you can see it took me to something called Mindtap. So if you're not sure which product you're using, go ahead and just click on one of your assignments and it will say SAM or it will say Applia. It typically tells you what the product is in the upper left-hand corner. So if you're using Mindtap and you go to cengage.com/training, if I click on Mindtap, it's going to take me out to the Mindtap training support page. Since you guys are specifically within Canvas, you want to filter by the Mindtap on Canvas to make sure you're getting registration videos or course copy videos that are specific to Canvas. So once I click on that Canvas, at this point in time, you can feel free to like bookmark the page so that you're already filtered down. But let's say I click on this video training resources. And let's say I want to see specifically instructor video related. So typically, this kind of gives me access to videos that are specific to Mindtap within Canvas. And if I just search by keyword copy, this talks about copying your LMS, which stands for Learning Management System, in your case, which would be Canvas. It talks about copying your Canvas integrated course. So for the professor who wanted to know how to copy one of your existing courses from the past semester, this would be a great video to watch. It will walk you through that process I tried to explain, but I didn't necessarily show it. So you're going to find videos in here about changing dates or how to extend an assignment date for your students. There's quite a few videos in here. So definitely check out this page. And if you look specifically at the student videos, you'll also find student registration videos. All right. Finally, I want to talk to you about how you can get Cengage support for your students. So hopefully in the course that you imported within the resources area for your students, there is some type of Cengage support link. But if you don't see a Cengage support link, you can easily add one to your course. And you do that by clicking on this Cengage tool that we were in earlier. And then when you click on the Cengage tool, you want to just go back to your textbook that you're linked to. So let's say you were using the Miller textbook. And typically at the very bottom of this list where you see all of the Cengage assignments, there is this Cengage technical support. So I can select that and confirm this selection to import this directly into my course. And this will allow for students to click on that link. Since the link is already within your Canvas course, it's going to capture some information about that student. It should capture their name and their email address automatically. It will capture which course that they are accessing this from, and it will also capture that it's a Canvas integrated course. So students, they'll be able to click on that link to file a support ticket. So you just want to make sure when you import that link, you want to make sure you actually publish it so that students can get to it. But again, students will be able to click on this link and create a case. Once they create a case, it's going to provide them with a telephone number should they want to call in immediately for support. I want to look back in the chat because I think I probably did not answer some questions, so let me keep going. It says, going back to the spreadsheet, it says that a course number is not necessary. So if you're teaching a course on the pairing spreadsheet, and let me go back to the announcements. So there are some exceptions. So for example, I see like this boat 121, it doesn't have a course key. It says instead of choosing the option to copy from a colleague, just say create new. When you say create new, then the course key is not needed. So for the most part, all of the courses, you're going to need a course key, but there may be some exceptions where you do not need a course key. And if that's the case, instead of choosing that option to copy from another instructor, you would specifically choose the option to create new, because more than likely the content in your course, it hasn't been customized, and it's just like the standard default Mindtap content or the standard default Cengage CourseMate content. And if that's the case, you can just say create new and a course key is not necessary. Okay. Let's see if we have another question in here. I don't think I see any other questions.
Looks like there is a question about how do you set up quizzes and exams? So my answer to that was it would depend on if that was available in that individual Mindtap course, if there were quizzes and exams built, but maybe you have more insight on that.
Yes, I do have insight, and I can show you. And again, I'm just kind of speaking generically. If you find that your particular Mindtap does not have this ability, then you can reach out to me directly, and then I can show you what that process looks like. But since we have a couple of minutes, I will just show the entire group. So within Mindtap, there's typically the ability to create a test using the test bank. So let me go out here. So I'm going to go into Mindtap. And within Mindtap, most of the Mindtaps have an app called See Now. So to the far right, there's this app right here called See Now. Within See Now, you have the ability to add a new assignment or to create an assignment. So when you click Create Assignment, the first thing it asks you to do is to name your assignment. So let's see if I can do this in less than a minute, just really quickly. And again, you can always reach out to me directly. So I'm just going to name this something generic. When I select my assignment, here's the test bank out here. I'm just going to choose from chapter 1. I click continue, and then lets me know how many questions. I click continue again. And from here, I can preview questions by clicking on them to highlight. And then you can just add questions. So I'm just going to add 2 questions. I will click on continue. It's going to take me into this settings page where I can go in and choose my assignment settings. And it's still thinking. So this is where I would choose my assignment settings. After I choose my settings, I click on the Create Test button. And so now that assignment is listed here, but I need to add it to Mindtap. And I do that by clicking on this plus symbol. I add an activity. Since I built that activity on See Now, here it is right here. And now I should see that activity. I think I called it delete. It should be somewhere in this list. It's typically the last assignment. So here it is. I can click it to add it. I click continue. And then it just asks me where in Mindtap do I want to place this assignment. So I choose a folder location in Mindtap. And once it exists within Mindtap, you would go through that import process. So I added it to Mindtap. It counts towards the grade. I can import it. Likely on this training page here, there should be a video like on how to create assignments within Mindtap. If you don't see the help that you're looking for, feel free to reach out to me, Delilah Wilson. And I have my email on this first slide in the bottom right-hand corner, and I can either help you or get you pointed in the right direction. All right. So let's see, do we have any other questions? So can I find the read and delete announcement and download it into Canvas? All right, so I will answer the second part, which is instructions to help students get going. So on this support page that we're on right here, again, if you search at the student resources, here is a video right here called Mindtap on Canvas, registration and login. So you can easily copy this link. So I copy this link and you can paste it as an announcement to your students. So again, you want to go out to this support page and locate any resources that you need, and you can share those with your students. As far as that announcement for the instructors telling you how to set it up, it just really depends on if the course developer placed that announcement in your course. Again, if you're having problems pairing your content, feel free to reach out to me, Delilah at Cengage. So I think we're at the end of the time frame, and Heidi, I don't know if you want to just end it here or if you want to see if there are a few more questions. I do have some time if I'm available to stay on for a couple of like 4 or 5 more minutes if needed.